Hi, I'm Pastor Steve Talmage of Love of Christ Lutheran Church in Mesa, Arizona. Each week, Pastor Nanette Christofferson or I try to provide a brief introduction to two of the assigned Bible readings for this upcoming Sunday. We're going to look at Sunday, July 19, 2026. A brief look at our first lesson, Isaiah 44, 6-8. Chapters 40 to 55 are what are called Isaiah, second Isaiah. In previous lessons, you've heard us talk about Bible scholars tend to divide Isaiah into three different Isaiahs, covering three different chapters of the people of Israel, pre-exile into Babylon, being in exile with the hope of returning to the promised land, and then the return to the promised land. So we're in 2nd Isaiah. God's people have been taken into exile under Babylon. Jerusalem has been destroyed. Solomon's temple has been destroyed. The prophet is speaking to the community sometime during 587 to 538 before Common Era. So this is a time of despair, defeat, disillusionment. We can just run through a bunch of different words. But imagine the displacement that comes after your people have been conquered and your primary symbols of strength and God's presence have been destroyed. And here they are, and they're waiting and wondering and asking questions, and Isaiah now is speaking to people who have been forcibly taken. They didn't volunteer to leave the territory. They were forced out of their homes because of devastation and death. So the prophet is called after the words of judgment spoken in 1st Isaiah. 1st Isaiah lays out the idolatry of the people, the judgment of other nations, the judgment of Israel because they chased after other gods. And they failed to practice compassion and justice for those within their own family of faith as well as the people of this earth. And the reality of the consequences of chasing after other gods is now offered some words of comfort and promised liberation. You know, it's kind of like when we have children. If you're privileged to have children, there are times where you have to discipline your children. And maybe you have to send them to their room or give them a timeout or take privileges away. But after that punishment has been dealt out, most of us often reaffirm our commitment to love and care about the child that received the discipline, because our hope is to shape and train and mold them into becoming good human beings, to be reflections of children of God for the sake of the world. So we don't believe in a God who eliminates all consequences to the decisions and actions we take. The only ultimate consequence that is removed is the wage of sin, which Jesus does remove that consequence, because death doesn't carry the final word for us. But outside of that, God is gracious and merciful, slow to anger, and abounding in steadfast love. So our text, 40, 1-2. Comfort, O comfort my people, says your God. Speak tenderly to Jerusalem and cry to her that she has served her term, that her penalty is paid, that she has received in the Lord's hand double for all her sins. So the punishment that the people of Israel received was not light. It was a double dose. So, you know, again, this is all leading up to the words that we have for Sunday. And then 28-31. Have you not known? Have you not heard? The Lord is the everlasting God, the creator of the ends of the earth. He does not faint or grow weary. His understanding is unsearchable. He gives power to the faint and strengthens the powerless. Even youths will faint and be weary, and the young will fall exhausted. But those who wait for the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. This is a word of hope to a broken, defeated, exiled people. God has not quit on them. Even though they're suffering the consequences of human rebellion, human sin, God has not given up on them. 43-1-2. But now, thus says the Lord, who created you, O Jacob, he who formed you, O Israel, do not fear, for I have redeemed you. I have called you by name, you are mine. When you pass through the waters, I'll be with you, and through the rivers, they shall not overwhelm you. When you walk through the fire, you shall not be burned, and the flame shall not consume you. We have images of natural elements that could swallow one up, drown a person, or consume a person with flames. But the promise Isaiah lifts up is, I will be with you. Do not fear, for I have redeemed you. Just like the people in Egypt being set free when they run into the sea is parted by God to deliver them. Of course, it took 40 years to get to the promised land because of human sin, stubbornness, and rebellion, and even practicing idolatry. God eventually gets them into the promised land because it is God who has called them, and God is going to deliver them. This phrase is repeated throughout 2nd Isaiah. I am the Lord your God. I am the Lord your God. It addresses what the Jewish Bible, our Old Testament, reveals over and over again, a term that I've lifted up as spiritual Alzheimer's, because it is like a disease of failing to remember over and over again the first commandment. You shall have no other gods before me. This was the reason for being exiled. It addresses a world of comparing whose God is bigger and stronger. And it reminds the people who their God is. And as a pastor and a teacher of the scriptures, this is my call, is to remind people week in and week out who our God is revealed through the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ. Because we fail to remember over and over again. And we chase after other gods. We confess it every week in our worship. I confess it every week in our worship. But then we receive a word of forgiveness to be able to continue to walk in the newness of life that God promises as we walk with God. 1-2, verse 44, which is leading up to our lesson. But now, hear, O Jacob, my servant Israel, whom I have chosen. Thus says the Lord who made you, who formed you in the womb, and will help you. Do not fear, O Jacob, my servant Jeshurun, whom I have chosen. So Jeshurun is a term of endearment in Hebrew from Israel's past. It means dear, upright one. This is how God, through the words of the prophet Isaiah, is speaking to these people who have chased after other gods, been exiled to Babylon, who are suffering mightily, that I'm still here, I'm still with you, and I am going to redeem you and bring you back to me. 44 verses 3-5. For I will pour water on the thirsty land and streams on the dry ground. I will pour my spirit upon your descendants and my blessing on your offspring. They shall spring up like a green tamarisk, like willows by flowing streams. This one will say, I'm the Lord's. Another will be called by the name of Jacob, yet another will write on the hand, the Lord's, and adopt the name of Israel. We see here an image of future, of inclusion, of broadness. Verse 6, thus says the Lord, the King of Israel and his Redeemer, the Lord of hosts. I am the first and I am the last. Besides me, there is no God. If you take anything away from this lesson, it is God is serious about the first commandment. You shall have no other gods before me. Verse 7, who's like me? Let them proclaim it. Let them declare and set it forth before me. Who has announced from of old the things to come? Let them tell us what is yet to be. You know, we have this kind of debate. You know, you guys chase after these other gods. Who are they in comparison to me? The one who created the universe, which is so vast that even now, all these years later, with telescopes and exploration and brilliant minds at work, we're still battling and wrestling with the mysteries of the creation of the universe and how we came to be and what our purpose and meaning are for this life that we've been given. Verse 8, do not fear, be afraid. We keep hearing this word, do not fear, do not fear, do not fear. I have not told you from old, have I not told you from of old and declared it? This isn't new news. Go all the way back to Genesis. Read your history. Know the story of your people and my relationship with your people. You are my witnesses. Is there any God besides me? There's no other rock. I know not one. Think about these powerful words of promise and clear declaration of who God is and whose we are. And there's a tremendous amount of hope being offered to people who have been destroyed, defeated, displaced, who are despairing, who are disillusioned. As we go through this life, may we pay attention to the temptation of chasing after other gods in our own individual life, family life, community life, national life, and recognize there is no other God beyond the one who created the universe and all that is in it, the one who comes and reveals fully who this God is through the person of Jesus Christ, fully God, fully human, who takes on our flesh, dwells among us, and then lives among us to teach us the way, the truth, and the life, and then suffers, not just for you or me, for all humanity, all time, so that all might be reconciled and all might know the depth, the passion, the broadness, the inclusive love that God has for each and every one of us. God bless you in these dog days of July. Thanks for watching.